Alright, welcome to week 11. And this week I want to begin talking about UV mapping and what UV texture coordinates are, how you arrange them and modify them, how you create new UV maps, and how to apply an image texture onto a model. For me, UV mapping in the beginning, I remember learning Maya for the first time. It was extremely hard for me to wrap my head around it, what it was, and it wasn't super intuitive to me. You guys are probably much smarter and will pick up on this a lot easier, but I'll explain it as I understand it. But basically, here's a model. So you guys know what vertices are. We have a vertex here. That vertex stores certain information in it. Some of that information can be found in the channel box. And or in the attribute editor, but each vertice, of course, has an X, Y, Z position in 3D space. So this particular vertice, I don't know if we can actually pull up its position or not. Let's see. Oh, there we go. It looks like it's saying 0, 0, 0. That must be relative to its current position. Yeah, so there's probably a way to change it so it gives its absolute position. Right now it's relative to where it started. But the idea is it has an X, Y, Z position. But also each vertice has a UV position. So we have X, Y, Z, which is for 3D space. And we have U and V for the two-dimensional texture coordinate system. You may hear of UVs a lot, or UV mapping. It's taking these points that exist in 3D space and laying them all out flat so that texture can be applied. Textures are in 2D. They have two dimensions, an X and a Y. So if we take a look at in the window UV texture editor, we'll see how this cube, when we create it, how it's laid out flat. So if I select this face, we notice that corresponds with this box in our map, and this box and this box both share an edge. It's hard to see, it's that light orange color, but and there's a box here and there's a box there, and the one on the bottom actually is up here. So the idea is you want to break up these faces so that when I look straight at that face, if that's a square, I want it to be square here. And if that's square, and then I want as many edges as I can to be shared, because that way this texture won't be as likely to seam. But those are some of the concerns we have with UV mapping. And UV mapping is used when I want to put a 2D image texture onto a model. It's not the same as a material like a Fong, or it's like specular highlights or reflections. That's different, but this is talking about how we would apply if you wanted to create a graphic or bring a graphic in and put it on the side of this. So I have created a simple graphic and that matches this specific UV layout. And what I did is you save this out, polygons, UV snapshot, and I did 512 by 512, and I saved it to my images folder. I'm going to close it because I've already saved it, and then I brought that. So this is what I ended up with. So this was, then I took this into Photoshop and I inverted it so the white's black and the black's white. And I used that as kind of, I put that on a layer as guides. And then I painted inside of each of these boxes and got something like this. You don't really have to stay in the lines outside of the box. So I took this map and then I took it into Photoshop and just colored something in it. So this is my texture map that I'm going to apply to the cube, and because it fits the UV map, my geometry unfolded, I'm able to now put an image on my object. So I can select my object, right click, we're going to make a new material, it'll just be a blend, and this new blend, I'm going to middle mouse drag, oh it's already down here, so we're going to take it here, I'm going to double click it, and in the attribute editor for my new blend, I'm going to go to my color and I'm going to click this color chip here. Now before we've done things like checker or kind of noise pattern, but this time I'm going to do a file. And then in that file node, I'm going to go and I'm going to grab this new texture that I created, and then I'm going to, I guess it was already applied, so you can see what happens. So this was my UV map, and in it I applied this map. Now this map has to match up with what's below it. Now what if, now this is the UV texture editor, so I right click here, and if I select UVs, I'm able to begin to move the UVs. Remember, every vertex also has a UV coordinate as well. So let's go to the C. Where are we? Okay. So these 4 vertices correspond with 4 UVs up here. You see that? Alright. So if I were to take this particular UV and begin to pull it down, then this face is going to begin to show red in this bottom corner. So as I pull this vertice down in texture space, you're going to see red. Now that's not going to change the fact that this is square, so it's going to begin to cause some distortion. You see that? So I'm moving not the vertice or the vertex, I'm moving the UV, and if this shape doesn't match this shape, this face, this square of the face, you begin to get some weirdness. So now this is completely messed up, and basically it's taking these limits and it's taking this texture information and putting it on the square. So if this is square and that's square, then we're good. But as soon as this shape is different from that shape, we begin to get lots and lots of weirdness. You can do a couple of things here in the UV texture editor. For example, I could take an edge, and there's a cut tool, so I can cut it, and basically it allows me to separate this before it was attached. So this represents this face here, okay, and I can move this, and suppose I wanted this to be an E now, or suppose I want it to be C but I wanted it to be upside down, or see what I'm saying? These four UVs correspond with those, but they can be placed anywhere on the map. Now, it usually benefits you to have as many edges that are common to be sewn together, because it helps you with not have little seaming artifacts like when things don't line up. But I'm hoping this demonstration will kind of help you see what exactly this UV is. Each face in the UV map corresponds with a face on the model, but as I manipulate the UVs, the model is not being manipulated. Okay, and vice versa. As I manipulate the model, my UVs aren't being moved. Okay, so as long as I start off with a cube here, I have a great map. I'm going to turn this back around, and I can take these edges here and I can sew them back together. I think it's this one here. Yeah. If this doesn't make sense, I don't know what to tell you. All I know, it took me a while to understand it, but let's review this one more time. Alright, so we have a face in 3D space, and each vertice has an XYZ position. Each vertice also has a UV coordinate system which goes on the UV texture editor. There's only up and down. There's this is terrible. I don't know which is up and which is down. I think it's, I better not say, I think it's UV. I could be wrong, but what's important here is that as you update one, it's not going to move the other. As I update UVs or texture coordinates, it's not going to update 3D coordinates, and vice versa. So what does that mean for us as modelers? What it means is, even though I have a great map here, when I go and suppose I want to make some sort of car or some sort of model of anything, it's going to really screw up our UV map. And if we want to apply an image, we're going to have to do some work to lay all those faces back in a way that it's, when they're unfolded, this face's shape matches as closely as it can with this face's shape, so we don't get a lot of stretching and distortion. And so this tutorial was to introduce that idea kind of, and in the next tutorial I'm going to take a simple object and we're going to go through the process of UV mapping it, and hopefully this will